Hello everyone, welcome to the Microsoft Azure Certification Series. This is Lakshit Pant from Azure Developer Community and I'm the host for today. And today is the day 2 of Microsoft Azure AZ900 Bootcamp and we have our expert speaker Dilip Pai sir here. He's a Microsoft certified professional and he has been doing some incredible work in the community. He has been taking all these boot camps to teach you to help you kickstart your journey with Microsoft Azure. We are back here again with the day 2 of session and it's the major hands-on part for today. So welcome, I welcome you, sir, to the stage, and now the stage is all yours, sir.
Hey, thanks, Lakshit. Hey, guys. No comments today. I was expecting some public comments here. Okay, so let's get started with today's session. And today's session is majorly going to be introduction or step into the Azure. So probably if you have attended yesterday's session and um, yeah, so if you have attended yesterday's session, you might be um, just familiar with this cloud and the different types of services in the cloud and different types of providers and like the private cloud, public cloud, and so on, right? And also infrastructure as service, platform as service. So we have entered the journey of cloud. So now, as we are here for a Microsoft session, and it's my duty to explain the Microsoft offering of the cloud, and that's Azure. Okay, so let's get started with this Azure. So Azure is just another cloud provider, just like its counterparts, yeah, AWS or GCP and so on. It has bit more offerings, and I can say that probably if you name a service and they will have this service, so that's how good Azure is. Okay, so let's get started for today's session. And today probably we'll be looking on to some of the hands-on. So with this hands-on, I'll be sharing some links where you actually don't have to um, go and have Azure account also. So probably like creating a VM, accessing the VM or so on. You can just go ahead and do your stuff on your own. Okay, so we'll be just seeing that also. Also, we'll be seeing in the portal wise how to create a VM or how to create any service, how that service looks overall, and so on. Yeah. So excited for today's session. I'm excited. So let's get started, guys. Yeah. Yep. So I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully, my screen is visible. Yeah. So welcome to the day 2, and today we'll be seeing our today's module is basically Azure architecture and services. Yeah. So let's get started. Okay. So this is quite a big module, and I'm dividing it into 2 days of training with hands-on on the services part. Okay. The first session will be seeing some of the architectural components. So let me just go with the pointers. Yeah, so we'll be seeing Azure architectural component, the regions, the subscriptions, resource group, and all. Some just entry to the Azure services. The services, as I told you right yesterday, when I tell about the computer, I just remember three things: the storage, the computing, and the networking. Right. So again, Azure is all about these things and divided into multiple other services, but we'll be looking on to some of the major services like compute and networking, storage, and identity and access and security. Okay, but for today, we'll be just focusing on these two things, that is compute and networking and storage. Yep. So let's get started. Okay. So Azure, right? When you come to Azure, you all obviously need a subscription or an account. It's just like of having a Prime membership or a Netflix account. You can use someone else's, you can have your own account, but you need to have an account at the end of the day, right? So there are multiple sorts of accounts. If you see here, it's Azure free account, a student account, and the Learn Sandbox. So Learn Sandbox is basically for someone who doesn't have a Azure account but just want to learn the services like you guys here, just to see how to deploy the services, how the deployment works, and so on. Okay, so this is the best thing for students who just don't want to start or open Azure account as of now. And also there is one more called student account. So the problem, not a problem exactly, the thing with Azure or any cloud provider for that matter, right, is that you need a credit card for opening an account although it's free, it's like they give you $200 worth credit free. Okay, so it's for a year generally. It's that you can utilize the services for of these $200 in 1 year. But the catch here is, so you open some of the services and don't forget to, I mean, you forget to delete this, the services will be running. It's like your cost will be exhausted and additional amount from your credit card will be taken. And this is a, not a drawback, but this is most of them face, at least the professional. But for student account, since I know students keep on learning and forgetting is just another thing in the student's part, right? If anyone for that matter, right? So with the student account, you guys don't have to actually give your credit card details. You just need to specify your student. Probably it will ask you for your college details, and boom, you are ready with your 200 or $150 worth credit. So you can go explore, play around all the services, whatever is there in Azure. Yeah. So just let's see what next. Yeah. So let's see how to create one Azure free account. Okay, it's not a free account, so already I have one account. I'll just show you where to go. What is the site? Yeah, so portal.azure.com, right? So I'll just type in here, so you can just pin the comment. Yeah, portal.azure.com is what. So this basic I have posted the comment. So this is where you can go and access the cloud services. Okay, that's how the portal is working. Yeah. So I have multiple subscriptions here. So I'm just signing into my subscription. So this is how the portal looks like. Um, so I'm just giving you a walkthrough on the portal. Okay. So if you see here, um, these are I'm creating a resource. So resource is nothing but a service. So as I told you, right, you name a service, they have it. If I just go with the AI and machine learning, they have multiple services like speech detection, a machine learning studio, or the required hardware what you require for to run high end models and so on. So those also it has. Yeah. So the synapse analysis, cognitive services, or the vision services, like you load a image and it detects similar image and so on. Okay, these kind of services. Analytics again, to load the data, big data stuff and stuff, blockchain stuff, you have it. Yeah. Compute, so compute is nothing but then it, I mean, the major processing step what takes care of the, so what system takes care generally, right? So you have your web apps, the VMs, the virtual machines, the Kubernetes, and so on. The containerizations, DevOps, I mean, databases, you see here, developer tools, the DevOps. Yeah. So you see, you name any services, they have it. IoT, media stuffs for your migration from on-prem to cloud. You have multiple and multiple things over here. Okay. So you just go ahead, create your free account. Okay, and I'm sure you'll be required to enter the details. Just enter that you're a student and you'll be able to um, create it for free without credit card. Got it? So yep. What next? I had told you about one thing called the sandbox, where you wanted to learn but didn't have a storage account or anything, right? So in this sense, you just go ahead and use the sandbox. Okay, so just a second. Yep. Yeah, so this is the sandbox. So you can just activate the sandbox, though there are multiple ways. Okay, so it's again, it's sort of a interactive mode also is there, or the CLI command. So this is what we call as command language, into command language, where we just type in some commands and the computer understands it and take in command. So that's known as CLI. You can use the PowerShell. So PowerShell is one of the command line interface just by given by Microsoft, or you can just use the interactive mode where you get YEN and so on. Okay, so just let's see how this works. I'm just sharing some links over here. Okay. um oh wait, I need to copy this link. I'm just sharing you some of the links. So this is one of the learning modules given by the Microsoft itself. Okay, so um, you just need to log in. What only thing what you need is account given by the Microsoft, or if you have the GitHub account also, that should do. Okay, so if you can just use it with your GitHub account as well. Yeah, so how to log in, I'm just signing in out. I'm just for to show you guys. Yeah, so you just need to sign in over here with the link. Okay, so see, I have multiple Microsoft accounts. So if you don't have any, what you just need to do is you will get this page. You just go to sign in options and sign in with GitHub. Okay. So I'm sure that most of you guys have GitHub account. If not, please do create GitHub. Okay. So this is what a developer must have throughout. I mean, for the open source contribution, for your code learning, anything, GitHub is must. So just make sure that you have a GitHub account, and I just showed you how to sign in and open this. To yeah, open this link. So here, what you need to do is just activate the sandbox. Okay, and here once activating the sandbox, it will just give you some of the commands. Okay, so see here, bash with the CLIs and so on. Okay, I'm just using some of the commands over here, so you can do it along with me, or you can just follow these instructions also. That should also do. Yeah, so let's see. It will just take 2 or 3 minutes. So this sandbox is just valid for around 1 or 2 hours, and uh, this is sandboxes for 1 hour, and in a day you can do 10 sandbox environments. Okay, so it mentioned that 10 sandbox, so you just can't use hundreds of sandbox environments, you just can use 10 sandbox. So if you have one sandbox, just don't close the environment. You can just recreate it and use it again and again. Okay, so this is how the PowerShell looks like. So I'm into the PowerShell module now. So here there are multiple ways. Okay, so if I just show you in the PPT, it's using PowerShell, using Bash, using the interactive mode. Okay, so this is the PowerShell. So here, how the PowerShell looks. Okay, so this is communicating with Azure again. In locally also you can run, but you need something called Azure CLI. Okay, so this is again one more tool. If you want to, if you have the Azure connections and you just want to run it locally, so you can just download Azure CLI and do a normal operations and so on. From the Azure you can connect to the portal and so on. Okay, so something like this, I have already, it's a normal exe. So what I did is I can just show you if I have, I don't know whether I have it. So this is the PowerShell, how it looks like. Okay, there also it all the same thing. So I'm just doing az. Okay, az. So az is command for Azure. Since I have a Azure, so I hope this is visible now. Yeah, az is command just to interact with Azure now. So I'll just see it. Yeah, so since Azure CLI is installed, it'll just tell me welcome to Azure and all the related stuff regarding Azure. Okay, like you can log in, you can create environments and so on. Okay, so this is how you can do it if you have a actual account in portal, but currently we don't have. So we'll just make use of the sandbox whatever is there. Yeah, okay, so we are into the PowerShell interface now. So some dates, some random commands are there, like a get date. So I'm just pasting this get date. So if you see here, I'm just copying this. So it's Saturday, December 3, and now AZ version. So I'll type the same command what I typed there. Okay, AZ. Let's see what and all we get. See the same command we got it over here, right? AZ hyphen hyphen version. So let's see which version of Azure CLI is there here. Yeah, so you see the Azure CLI version is 2.4 2.42.0. Okay, so this is how probably we are into PowerShell. You can just use something like some commands like az hyphen help and explore more. Okay, guys, so explore how to do it and so on. Okay, so Azure. portal done. Okay, so next, let's see what next to do. Okay, so we'll switch to bash now. So bash is something, a shell script which directly interacts with the kernel. Um so uh better version, I can tell, but the tougher version, because the commands, the coding is bit tough here. And PowerShell, the coding is very easy. It's like just writing a normal program. You can write a for each and all. But in terms of Bash, it's quite tough, but not that tough also. So Bash, why people use it directly interact with the kernel level only. Okay, so we'll just see how to switch to bash. Generally use how you, if the Linux guys and all, they directly interact with the kernel, right? So what they do, sh sudo apt update and so on, such commands are used in bash. Yeah, so I'm just switching to bash. So see here, bash. So now ls, so here Linux commands works now. So I have kind of sort of switched to the Linux distro. Okay, the same thing, I'll do it again, but the see the difference, I mean, I don't see a difference in the syntax, at least for this. Yeah, here control V doesn't work, so either you need to do right click and do, or else what you need to do is shift insert. Yeah, so get date command is not found here because I'm using the old Azure CLI. So now what I'll do, I'll just do this Azure CLI date. You see the difference between the uh, bash and the PowerShell. So date is there, so okay. And Azure upgrade, mm, previously I just switched back to, now I'll switch back to interactive mode, where it'll ask me what you want to do, how you want to create it, and so on. Okay, so let me just go with the interactive mode for now. Yeah, okay, so mirror I got, fine, never mind. I'll just, so now I just want to switch back to PowerShell. Then now what I'll do, I'll go with PWSH. So PWSH stands for PowerShell. Okay, I'm switching back to Azure now. So I'll just do CLS for a clear screen so that you guys can understand. Now let's go to interactive mode. So what I'm doing, I'm just going interactive mode now. Yeah. See, now here it's you interact with the computer. It will give you yes, no option. Okay. So I'll just type Y and let's see. Okay, Y doesn't work. So yes, AZ. Probably here it just give me some of the commands. So here, do you agree sending the telemetry data and so on. Okay. Um, so if I just type here AZ resource, enter, let's see what we'll get it. Yeah, is required, following arguments is required, so it gives you a better suggestions and so on. Okay, and here also it's just again the same thing. Okay, so version, yeah, so here it just gave me the versions. Okay, so you can just type in whatever you want. So this is how the CLI works. Okay, so everyone is good with the CLI part. So please do try this. I've posted the link also. So that's one of the very good exercise to get started with the Azure portal and all of the service creation you can do without actually creating the services. Yeah, so everyone good with this now? Yeah, okay. um so let's get in with the next set of questions. Yeah, so we already saw how to navigate to portal, right? So I just went in, where is it, here, portal, Microsoft portal. Here also I can have the CLI interfaces and all, so it's almost similar. Okay, but you can just do it on the local side also. So this is how your portal works. You can create resources and so on. Okay, so this is how you get started with portal, at least. Yeah, Okay, next thing. Okay, Azure architectural components. So when we talk about Azure, we have multiple architectural components. Okay, so let's see what we are going to learn here. Okay, so we are going to learn Azure regions, region paths, and sovereign regions, availability zones, about the data centers, the resources and the resource group, subscriptions, management groups, and how it's hierarchically divided. Yeah, let's get started. Okay, okay. So regions, right? So what is regions? Okay, so at the end of the day, whatever service you create, right? As I told you, as I mentioned one of the dialogues yesterday. Okay, um, cloud is nothing but someone else's computer. Okay, when I mean someone else's computer, it's a data center. Yeah, so I'm just deploying my services into others data center. Okay, so when I told you guys about the private cloud, what I told you, that he will give me here, that cloud provider, private cloud provider will give me a VM. Okay, and I need to deploy my services. At the end of the day, everything is a computer and you're deploying your services over there. Okay, so similarly here what I can tell is, okay, so regions, its cloud is basically a data center. Yeah, it's deployed into data center. Now regions are nothing but one or more data center in a close proximity. What this means? Okay, so it means that I have in a Bangalore, right? In a Bangalore, I have probably three data centers. So in Bangalore, there are some good areas like Kormangla, Electronic City, and Whitefield. So I have my data centers over here in three places as a Microsoft guy. Okay. Now, similarly in Chennai, I have three more um, data centers. Similarly in Hyderabad, I have three more data centers. Now, what I do, I have nine data centers in South India, right? So now what I do, I'll tell this as South Indian region. Okay, so regions are made up of one or more data centers in a close proximity. I can also name it as Bangalore region also. Okay, Bangalore region, or as Chennai region, Hyderabad region, or all together called a South Indian region. See here, you can see China North. So it's generally up to the region what how the data center is made. Okay, next, it provides the flexibility and scale to reduce customer latency. So, what is latency here? I access something. So, consider someone from North India, okay, is accessing my data over here. Okay, so he'll have obviously not. Let's not take the example of North India. Let's take someone from America is accessing something from my website, which is hosted in this region. Okay, so it means that he'll face some latency, right? It means that there is a delay because the data has to go to South Indian region. Again, data has to go back all the way to the American region. Okay, so this is how it works. So you see here latency is very low. Okay, very high, sorry. So now what he do is the regions are replicated. So this is how you can reduce the customer latency. Okay, so you can save the data, and obviously you can offer the compliance. So what is compliance? As I mentioned yesterday, one of the terminologies of GDPR issues, right? The data should not go out of US, Europe, and all. There are some rules and regulations there, especially when we take China region also. China is very protective in terms of data. Okay, at least US are a bit lenient, but no, China is not. Okay, so in this sense, Azure comes, they tell, okay, we create a host your website in that particular region, so that data will be in that particular region only. Okay, so this is one of the advantages of regions. Okay, so next, what are availability zones now? Okay, so consider, I told you about regions. Okay, so I have my data in Bangalore data center. So Bangalore data center is basically, so let me just I'll just try to delete this. Okay, so let me just open Notepad, which is better for you guys to understand. Yeah. So uh, let's just tell that I have my Bangalore region. Okay, so Bangalore region I have in Kormangla, Whitefield, and Electronic City. Okay, this is my Bangalore region. Now, what will happen? Um, Consider this is into South Indian region again. Okay, so this is, let name is Bangalore Data Center DC. Okay, I have similarly I have Chennai DC, and I have Hyderabad DC. Okay, Hyderabad DC. Now what happens? As we know, 2 months back in Bangalore, there was a huge flood, right? Especially the Whitefield area, some of the parts of Kormangla, not exactly, but let's assume that Kormangla and all the three regions were flooded. Now this area is shut down, right? Whole Bangalore DC is shut down, and anyone is not able to access it. Hopefully, if there is a data loss and so on, right? So what they do is they replicate whatever is there over here as a secondary item into this data center or this data center. Okay, so when this downs, all the users get from data from here. Similarly, this data also is replicated from here. Okay, so this is known as availability zones. Okay, so how it helps us? So it provides a protection against the downtime. So here, if it's shut down, you can get the things from here, so that customer won't face any problem. Okay, so each data center will be independent of ours. So it's not like Bangalore and Chennai will be sharing a common power, right? It's not like Bangalore and Hyderabad will be sharing a common power, right? So it's saved again. So like if this power goes down, this is there, this power goes down, this is there, and it's interconnected. Yeah. So connected. So how these are connected? Now these are connected to private fiber optic networks. So very high end optic networks, optic cables. This is how the things are connected in availability zones. Okay, so as I mentioned here, yeah, connected to fiber optic networks, independent power cooling networking within the same region. So as I told you, in South Indian region, okay, three zones: Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai. So these are interconnected, you see. So this is replicated over here, this is replicated over here also. Yeah, similarly this also is replicated. So this is how the uh, availability zones work. Yeah, now let's see the region pairs. So region pair are nothing but at least two regions. So what if whole South India goes in flood? Touch wood, God forbid, things should not happen. But customer from the outside or any customer will just see value for money, right? I have paid, I need the service. They don't care what is on flood, what is on nothing, right? So similarly, there are region pairs. So one region has a alternate pair for other, like South India is paired with India Central, right? As I told you, so whatever data centers in India is there, it's replicated into India Central, and this also is there. So this is just only for 300 miles of separation. So it's not like India South Indian pair can South Indian region can be paired with something in North America or North China. No, that's not the case. Just between the 300 pairs, so like 300 miles. Okay, automatic replication of some service, like you create X service, automatically it will be replicated in here also. Again, you should give it. Okay, you should like point it, you should tell, okay, I need it into a region pairs, I need availability zones to be created, and it's your duty to tell what you need, and Azure will give it to you. Okay, prioritize region recovery. Again, failed, this is there, go. Like, okay, updates are rolled out sequentially to minimize the downtime. So consider India South Indian um, region, they have some rolled out some update, but people can't expect any downtime, right? So what they do, it will just reroute things to India Central. Okay, so that's known as region pairs. Okay, okay, sovereign regions are nothing but as I was mentioning something called US, right? So they don't want data to go out of there. So Azure is in tie up with the government services that they just created one of the data centers, all the things only for that Azure regions. I mean, like if I'm in US, I'm creating one of the service into US. It means that the data is in US and it will not go outside of US at any time. Though they have very high GDPR compliances, they have very big contract and all. So it's like it can. So generally, your data you can't go to some data center and see. Okay, but in this sovereign regions, you can go to that data center. You can see what the data is, how many racks are there, and so on. Okay, so physically isolated from non-US government deployments. So in US also there are multiple data centers, but there is one dedicated data center for government data only. Okay, so similarly Azure China also has something similar. Okay, so all data stays within China. So you know that China is very tough in terms of the um, GDPR compliances, right? So it means that you can't, ideally not GDPR, their data protection rules. Okay, so even the all the apps, right, they show you what they want. Like probably TikTok, rest I mean when TikTok was there, rest of the world used to see different content and Chinese guys used to see different content. So that's how strict their data compliance is. Okay, so again, this is some known as Azure sovereign regions, right? So normal regions and Azure sovereign regions also. Yeah, so I'll just let me just see if you can get. Okay, so the site is down, else how their regions are replicated I could have shown you. Yeah, so let me just wait for another minute. So you can see where all the Azure infrastructure is over here. Okay, okay, it's just loading, so we'll just continue and I'll just get back here whenever it's loaded. Yeah, because it takes a good time to load. So I think someone has asked here, how can I get day one recording? So Lakshit, please help Prithvi over here. Yeah. So you see here how the globe, and you see this, it's how the optic fiber I told, right? It's connected through the globe and so on. So this is how beautiful it is. It's all connected to optic fiber, and they have made it so beautiful. You know that these optic fibers are actually connected through the oceans. Okay, so explore the globe, you can just go here and just see whatever you want, whichever service. So let me just see where is India over here. You can just hover, see the satellite roaming, and okay, so if I just click on this region, this is Brazil, you can get all the geographies and so on. It's kind of fun to learn. I can tell how many regions are available here also, you can see. So if you see India, there are multiple regions. Again, I think this is central India. So in central India, so region with the availability zones, and again I told you, right, it all depends whether that region should have availability zones also. Year opened, global compliances and so on, or everything you can see over here. Okay, do explore this anytime if you get some chance, right? It's kind of good to know all the regions and how many of them have availability zones and so on. Okay, okay, so okay, so Azure resources are nothing but the components or any service offerings what you have is known as Azure resources. Probably when I told something like a virtual machine, a storage account, a database, a app service, um, a Docker registry, Azure Kubernetes services. All these are resources. Okay, so these are nothing but components or the services in Azure. Okay, so this is known as Azure resources. So next line, resource group. So what happens is I might need to logically group these resources. Okay, so consider I have multiple environments. Okay, so let's say let's see. Let me just take an example of I have a development environment, okay, and a production environment, okay, and these have the same set of resources, but these are different resources like dev VM, prod VM, and so I need to logically group this. So this is when resource group comes into picture. So resource group is nothing but a logical grouping of the resources in Azure. Okay, so I can just term it as dev RG or resource group so that I can know any resources that are specific to development. So like probably dev database, dev VM, and dev network, everything under the dev is related to this. So I'm logically grouping these resources. Okay, so it means it's just a logical grouping. Okay, here so it just resource can exist in only one resource group. It means that okay, I create a dev VM, so dev VM can just part of one of the resource group. It doesn't mean that I can create one resource in multiple resources, a resource group. Okay. Resources can exist in different regions. So consider I create a resource group. I logically create one resource group, a placeholder, at least in a better terms I can tell. So a placeholder I create in central India, but inside this all the resources I can create of different regions. Okay. So that is also there. So resources can be moved from two different resource groups. So I create a VM into Central India. Tomorrow I don't want it in Central India resource group, a dev resource group. What I'll do is I'll change this dev resource group to a prod resource group. Okay. So applications can utilize multiple resource groups. So it's not that okay, when you deploy application, that application should access only that dev resource group. No, that's not the case. You can just configure this application to use 10 resource groups also. That should not be an issue. Yep. So everyone is clear about the resource and the resource group now. Okay. So also some other points is like you can it's again it's I can term it as a placeholder or a container for the resources. It's like you have a box, you put all the resources in. Okay. Also you can set the additional security. So when we come up with the identity and access management, right, I'll be just covering the terms of role based access control and so on. Okay. So I'll do that. But for now, this resource group, you can just do it in terms of you can add the security stuff and so on. Okay. So what next? To have this resource and everything, you need to have a subscription. In the better terms, what I can tell is a Netflix account, right? You create a subscription. Basically, you subscribe to a Netflix, like 200 rupees subscription. So with this, what you do, you know that Netflix knows you have taken 200 rupees subscription. Now you can access only Netflix in one screen. You can't cast the Netflix and so on. So it knows your billing boundaries, right? So similarly, Azure also has the subscription. It also has the billing boundary, also the access control boundary. So like I have a dev subscription or a prod subscription only for someone out on site. I don't want the prod subscription to be given on the India level. So I have my applications in Europe. I can give the access only to the guys who are in Europe, not in India. So what I can do, I can create a subscription, all the resources I can put it there, and I can tell them, okay, you can access this. Okay. So um, two things: billing boundary and access control boundary. Okay. If you see here, one Azure account, three subscription: dev, test, and production subscription. Yeah, again they have divided. See here, billing account, profiles, invoice section 1 2 3 4, how multiple other subscriptions, so they can bill like dev guys are spending this much, QA guys are spending this much, and something like this. So this is known as Azure subscription. Yeah. Management group. Now management group sits on the top of Azure subscription. So consider my company is giving me one Azure subscription. It has 10 different subscription. So company has access how many subscriptions it can create. Okay. So it means that my company is the owner of the subscription. So company acts as a management group, it manages the stuff. So management group sits on the top of the subscription. Okay, so you can inherit the conditions also, like you can set, okay, QA guys or everyone can access these many resources, don't go to billing session, I can just type in a rule and enter the stuff. Okay, so management groups acts in that way also. In a single directory, 1,000 management groups are there. It means that 1,000, like one big company have different 1,000 different units. So this 1,000 different units has different subscription again. So this, what I do is, I'll tell I'm a big boss, I have 100 small bosses under me, so they can act as a management group. Okay, um so it's a three, you can see it support the six level of depth like this. Okay, one subscription inside this and so on. Okay, so management groups, we saw how this are created. So if I just show in a better way, management group, a management group, it's here. Inside this, subscription 1, subscription 2, subscription 3, subscription 4, subscription 5. Okay, also I can have management 1, management 2, directory level, main boss, 1 2 3, again here subscription, again here roots, again here roots, and so on. Okay, here resource group, resources. Okay, so I know this diagram is messy, but just try to relate it with this diagram. Okay, so this is the resource group, this is a subscription, this is the management group, and these are the resources of Azure. Okay, um yeah. So if you guys have any doubt, please ping over here so that we can address it there itself. Yeah. Okay. Um, let's see how to create Azure resource group, create a virtual machine and monitor the resource group using a sandbox environment, what we had already done. So let me try to open it somewhere. Okay. Okay. So we'll create a virtual machine. I think there is one more. Let me see if there is one more exercise of creating a virtual machine where I'll be covering that. Yeah, we have one more virtual exercise where we'll be creating a virtual machine. So we'll come back then. Okay. Um, okay. His Prithvi has telling that the screen is blurred. So is anyone else facing this issue? Okay, let me just get started. So let's see if the screen is blurred still. If anyone has it, let me see what I can do from my network end. Yeah. So this is basically a compute and networking stuff. So what I do, a compute is basically what gives a power to a system. Yeah. So and also some of the networking stuff. We'll just see what are these. Yeah. So Azure Compute is an on-demand computing services. As I told you, power to screen and power to the computer. Okay, so how your computer has the power to process the things. Everything is given by this compute services. Yeah. So here things include such as disk, processors, memory, networking, and operating system. So these all get combined to give you a computing power, right? For any system, right? So here multiple services are there: virtual machine, app services, the container instances, AKS, and Azure Virtual Desktop. Okay. So virtual machine is a PaaS services, sorry, IaaS service. Okay. So IaaS service is basically a infrastructure as services. Yesterday I had mentioned, right, with the pizza example where it's kind of calling for a pizza guy. I mean, going to a supermarket, getting a base, getting toppings, and preparing the pizza at home. Similarly, you have a virtual machine. You install the OS, you install the database, you take care of the things, you release the patches, and so on. Okay, so virtual machine is that service. Okay, and web app is sort of a PaaS service where they give you everything. You just need to deploy your applications in that web app. And these are for the container. I'll get back to you what is container and so on. And this is sort of a virtual desktop is something like a RDP basically. So they are already like multiple. You might have observed, like I don't know whether you guys have observed. We generally get a RDP from the uh, our client itself. We need to do development in that system. Okay, so they have the rules, they have the image access, they have the policies set for that particular system. So it's sort of virtual machine, but with additional capabilities of pre-installed stuff, and they expose this particular virtual desktop to everyone. Okay, so this is a virtual desktop. So let's see virtual machines now. So virtual machines, as I told you, is a IaaS, okay, infrastructure as service, okay, are also software emulations of physical computer. I'll give you a very good example what happened. Okay, so my personal computer was pretty outdated, and I had to take some sessions which wanted a Visual Studio 2019, and it's a pretty heavy application. I ideally can't go ahead and install that because my system will definitely drain out the power, right? I wanted a better computing thing. So what I did, I just went to portal, I installed a virtual machine there. And I took that VM. In that VM, I installed everything. I managed the stuff, but my computer is bit fast, right? It like a software emulation of a physical computer. It's a physical computer, but yes, but emulations. So includes a virtual, everything is virtual there. Virtual processor, memory, storage, networking. Okay. IaaS offering, you can control and customize it. Okay. How to do that? So I think if I have a portal open here, I'll just go here. Yeah. So if you see here virtual machine, I'll just go create a resource over here. So you have the first one, popular Azure services over here, right? Virtual machine. Or you can just go to compute and you can type in Windows 10 data center. So you can just do this also. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and create a virtual machine, and it will just create the things for me here. I'll just show you how to create the stuff over here. Okay. So this is how the logical grouping and stuff works. Okay. So first what I need a resource group. I have multiple logical groupings over here, like web app, network RG, default resource group, and workstations. Okay. Similarly, I'll create for today's demo. Okay. Like hands on AZ900. Yeah. I just review and create it. Okay. So a container, a box is created for me now. So whatever resource related to Azure VM is created, it will be in this particular box. Okay, imagine in that way. I'm creating a resource now. Yeah. So get started. I'll just type Windows over here. I'll buy compute. So I'm just going for a virtual machine and creating. So I'll type, okay, this is my resource group. I'm typing my name, probably 900 demo, and the region, as I told you, availability options, the availability set and availability zones. I can so in my region there is no availability zones. So what I'll do, I'll just go for central India because I remember in that map, okay, central India had a availability zones. Okay, so I'll just select that, and for now let's not just focus more on that. Yeah, so infrastructure redundancy, I'll select availability zones again. You need to tell the Azure that you need availability zone. You need to tell Azure that you need availability set. Then only it will work. Okay. And this is how I'll just go ahead and create. I'll just give you a username and password. So this user resource creation takes time of 5 to 10 minutes. I just want to save time. So I had told you, right? Already I had created one of the workstations in my local system. So in the workstation resource group, I went to that box, opened the box. It had everything, a storage account, a workstation, everything related, what and all a virtual machine to run a system is required, right? Those things are there. A system, the IP, the network group, the network, and so on. Okay, everything is there. So this is how you create a system. Basically, you create a virtual machine. Okay, excuse me. Okay, so let's see what next. Yeah, so next is scale set. So what happens is basically, um, I have a system. Okay, I have a virtual system, virtual machine, and my application deployed. Now I have, consider this virtual machine is 16 GB RAM and some memory. We 4 vCPUs. Consider virtual CPUs, 2 vCPUs. Now, if I host a Hotjar server in this and 2 crores people are watching here, it's tough for this to adjust the things, right? It's tough for this to take the load, and so that's when it needs to be scaled. So yesterday I mentioned one of the advantages of cloud is scaling. So I need to tell that, okay, boss, whenever the things are there, scale up. So what it will do, the scale set, it'll, yes. So the scale set will come whenever the load is increased. It will tell, okay, I have 4 more virtual machine. It will go and create the 4 more virtual machine of the same kind. Okay, so this is the scale set. Okay, excuse me. Yeah. So this is virtual machine scale set. Okay. So any doubt till now here? I'm waiting for some questions. So any doubt till now? So then we'll go to the next topic. Yeah. Okay. So I think no doubts. So let's see what are availability sets. Okay. Um, so I had explained something called availability zones before. Okay. Yeah. One more thing. If I just tell in Azure scale sets, right, it will only take care when to scale up and when to scale in. Scale out is basically when you want more resources. So as I told you here, Hotstar India versus Pakistan match, 3 crores audience. I need 100 systems like this. So it will scale out. Okay, next 2 days later, Zimbabwe versus Pakistan, no one cares to watch. I need to scale it in, right? I just need only one system. So scale sets only take care of these things. Again, one more thing just to note down here. So scales just increase and decreases the resources. It will not distribute the load among all, and that is done by load balancer. Okay, so that's a bit advanced topic of a system design, but scale set just responsibility to increase or decrease the systems. That's it. Virtual machines, the number of virtual machine, it will increase or decrease. That's it. It will not take care of distributing the load among all the systems. Okay. Now availability sets. So availability sets is basically one virtual machine is there, right? So consider I have one virtual machine over here. Okay, with the application. This fails. Now what? I need to have multiple other availability things, right? So consider it's into one same rack. So basically, when you create a virtual machine, it's all abstracted. Okay, basically, what's abstraction? You don't see what's happening. You just get the output. So it's under the same. So imagine it as a rack. Okay, so this is a data center. This is a rack. So it multiple shoe racks are there. So here one VM is allocated for you. Some things happen and this particular rack shuts down, so your whole thing is gone, right? So that's when availability set comes into picture. So what will happen is basically this one rack, basically when you create, it will give you a something called a fault domain and update domain. Okay, fault domain and update domain. So fault domain are basically multiple racks within the same availability zones only. So it just Fault domain, in one fault domain, it's like multiple things are connected to a same power source. Okay, so fault domain 1, fault domain 2, fault domain 3, you can have up to 3 fault domains. So what happens, the virtual machines is deployed into 3 different fault domains. Okay, so when one rack goes down, you have other rack to the rescue or other rack to the rescue. Okay, so this is fault domain. So this is taken care by the availability set. Okay, now what is update domain? Update domain is basically, consider it this way. Okay, so one rack needs to be updated. Okay, it's a downtime, right? So you basically get something from a other domain, so that is known as update domain. So these two combination make something called a fault domain and update domain. So it's like, also I can take it that these three, from fault one, fault domain, you can have same VMs, right, replicated. I'll just make my drawing more clear. D1, FD2. Okay, I have, here I have two VMs in each. Okay, so these one make one update domain, I can tell, and update domain 2. Here what happens, when I want to roll out an update, what I'll do, I can't just shut down the whole thing one by one, right? So what I'll do, I'll take 3 VMs from these 3 things, I'll update this, and this will be functional. Then once this is done, I'll make this functional, and this will have a downtime. So this is fault domain and update domain, and this is taken care by the availability set. Okay, so I hope availability set is clear till now. Okay, so if you just are not clear, just ping in. Okay, so I can just answer your queries here. Yeah, so let's see how to create a virtual machine. Yeah, so let's see, I'll just try to get some things for you. So with the sandbox, we'll just try to create one of the virtual machines. Yeah, so it's a Ubuntu virtual machine. Okay, so yeah, so I'm just activating sandbox. See, I told you I didn't close that session, so it already told me you already have a session, continue on that thing, but I didn't want that. I'm creating one Linux virtual machine now. Okay, so I've posted this link, so you can just follow up the same thing. Okay, so as I told, today's session is going to be a bit bigger because this is kind of dig deep in. So we'll try to complete it soon, but we'll try to cover the things planned. Okay, if not, we can just take it up tomorrow, but we'll try to complete as much as possible for today. Yeah. So I already have, what I'm doing, I'm just pasting these commands. Okay, so here what I'm doing, az commands, as I told you, az will give you everything. So this is a bash terminal. Okay, so az will give you everything. So here what I'm instructing the CLI to create a VM for me. Az VM create. Okay, with the resource group this, so it will create a resource group this for me. So it's sort of absurd. Okay, so it will, if it's there it will create, if it's not there it will create it, else it will update. Okay, so azvm create, so this is not happening in my subscription again, so you won't see it. It's just like a sandbox, a virtual environment. So there only it will create a runtime subscription of 1 hour for me, and it will create these things. Okay, so azvm create resource group this, my the name of the VM will be my VM. The image, what's the image? So image is nothing but the operating system. It can be Windows, Linux, and so on. So here they have given the Ubuntu TLS. So whenever you want to create a virtual machine, so there must be username and password, or the admin username and password. Okay, so that's what he's giving, and generate the SSH keys. Okay, so because to access this VM I need a SSH key. Okay, so we'll just do this, and I'm copying and pasting the stuff. So I told you VM generally takes a couple of minutes to create. So in the meanwhile, you can just post anything is there. Okay, so until this is creating, what I can do, I can just cover up the other concept. So here, okay, so we are going to do this now. So what is install web server package is basically behind I need a server to run, right? So if Microsoft guys, you ask which server use, he will tell IIS Express, Internet Information Service. Similarly, in Linux, if you want to run the server behind, you need something called a Nginx. Okay, Node is one of them, but Nginx is generally used by the Linux guys. Okay, so we are going to do that in a while. So, but we'll see what are the other things so that we can manage the time for both. Okay, so as I mentioned, Azure Virtual Desktop, what is Azure Virtual Desktop? So multi-sessions deployment. If you want to give this desktop to someone else, to your team to manage, so that's when Azure Virtual Desktop comes into place. Okay, so it's a virtualization. Okay, so I'll create a system for them. I'll create a VM. I'll download all the necessary softwares, and this whole system can be given to all my teammates, and they can access the same system for their development stuff. So that's known as a virtual desktop. Okay, so container service, we'll be seeing it in the next session. So I just want to go on the networking services. So I'm just parking it here, the container services and the networking. This so, but today we'll cover the network services. Okay, so Azure also takes care of the networking. Okay, so what it does, it basically you probably, when you create a virtual machine, you also need to set up some of the networking steps. Okay, so here VNet plays a major role. Okay, so what is VNet? VNet is basically enables the Azure resources. So to come in, so sometimes what happens is I don't want this web app to expose to other outer world. I just need to keep it within the surrounding, okay, or within the boundary. So in this case, I'll go ahead and use a VNet. Okay, or one more example is I have 3 4 Azure resources and I want these 4 resources only to communicate. So it's like this. So resource 1, be it any resources, resource 2, resource 3. Okay, and I just want these connections to happen like this. Okay, these communications to happen. Okay, I do want someone from the external world to access this and access this. Okay, I don't want it that way. So in this case, best option is Azure virtual network. Okay, so you can configure subnets and everything, network peering also you can do, and you can communicate around each other. So here you can configure inside that, communicate via internet, and communicate via resources, communicate via firewall. Okay, via firewall. So you got the point of Azure Virtual Network, where I just don't want my connection to be exposed to someone. Yeah. So this is when Azure Virtual Network comes into picture. Yeah. So here we'll see how actually Azure Virtual Network comes into place with our virtual machine, what we have created already. Yeah, so we'll see how much our virtual machine has been created. Yes, our virtual machine has been created now. Okay, now only the virtual machine has been created. Now my task is basically to install the Nginx server, because I need this to run, right? So what it does, it has some script in the GitHub. So if I just do here ls, nothing is there. Ls cloud drive cd cloud. Let's see, I mean, ls, what else is there here? Okay, nothing is there. Basically, somewhere the scripts are there. Scripts are in GitHub, but I wanted to show you the SSH keys. Anyways, that's not there. So here, what I'm doing is somewhere the script will be there to install the Nginx server here. It's basically sudo apt get update SSH and sorry Nginx. I'm just installing the Nginx. Okay, so I'll just go here. I'm just telling VM extension set. So VM extensions are nothing but it has scripts. One script can be run in multiple VMs. You just tell them to run this particular script. Okay. So I'm just telling, okay, VM extension set resource group is this. Okay, name of the VM, this name is the custom script, run the custom script. Okay, so it will just runs this apt get update. Okay, and the publisher will be Microsoft Azure extensions from where. Okay, file URL is raw user account and this. So if I just open this, right, you can get the nginx.sh a script. Okay, so that's what the file URL is. Just please do explore it once you get time. And what I'm command to execute is configure nginx sh. So it basically install the nginx in your system. Yeah, so I'm just copying this and I'm pasting it. Okay. Generally this script take some time, so we'll come back over here. Okay, so we'll see how actually vnet. So I have explained what is vnet when you want to configure network rules within your systems. Okay, so that's vnet. Okay, so communicate within the Azure resources outside inbound traffic or outbound traffic. If you want to do inbound traffic is from outside, what comes into your system, you need to filter it out. From in outbound is from your Azure resources, what goes outside the system, you need to filter it out. All these things can be taken care by the vnet. Okay, so we'll come to this exercise again. So what we are doing to this, we are going to expose port number 80. So 80 is basically to allow the access into the system used for HTTP protocols generally. So if you want to HTTP protocol, if you want to expose IP, you expose it via port number 80. Okay, and we are going to test the connections. We'll be doing it in a while. We are just running that script. We'll be coming back to that after a couple of slides. Okay. Yep. Azure networking services basically, one more thing is basically private VPN. So I think most of them knows what's VPN, right? So basically, when you want your network to access the other network, that's the common idea behind VPN, right? So it'll mask your IP, it will not expose your IP. Okay. So what it'll do is it basically, I need to connect between Azure Virtual Network and on-premise like location over a public internet. But I ideally don't want to expose my public IP via that particular portal and so on. So it will just create a tunnel for me. Yeah, so if you see here, this is my IP over here. If I just connect to this virtual private network tunnel, okay, it's again internally uses the Azure virtual vnet gateway only. Okay, so here if you see, I'm just using this tunnel. Yeah, so here the IP will be this. When I connect to here, it will be this. So both way communication you can establish. Okay, so that's a VPN. And generally used for um, log when you want to log in into virtual machines and so on from the external world. Through that particular network only you need to go. I think most of you might have heard this known as tunneling. So tunneling is nothing but the VPN only. Okay, and next, the network service is basically Azure networking service. So in a networking service is basically Azure ExpressRoute. Azure ExpressRoute is when you want to connect from the on premises to the Microsoft services, right? On premises to Microsoft services offerings, then you use the ExpressRoute. Okay, so if you see here, a customer's network is accessing, and here it's like I need to divert the traffic, one particular traffic to this um, the M365, and other one probably for other portal services O365, and other one to Azure. Okay, so you can just do it via ExpressRoute. So it's basically um, kind of a bridging between on-premises to multiple Azure services. So that is nothing but Azure ExpressRoute. So these three are nothing but the general networking services. Also, Azure has its own on DNS. So DNS is basically domain name, right? So you can configure your own domain. You need not go to the Big Daddy or anything. So you can just come to Azure, give a certificate, pay for it, whatever it's the nominal fees is there, and you can get a DNS. So that also is possible in Azure. So I need not explain what DNS again. So DNS basically gives a domain name for your IP. So whenever you expose a program or you expose a website, right, it has a IP. it's known by IP, right? The computer is known with its IP, but you need to give an alias or a name for that program. That's when the domain name comes into picture, right? So that's when you can, previously you can use to, people generally go to Big Daddy, get the certificate, and sorry, GoDaddy, get the certificate, and um, get the things done, and they get the domain. But now Azure also has its own domain providing system. It will also suffice the requirement. Yeah. So this is the networks things. So now what we'll do is we will come back to our code, and here you see we have installed the SSH. Yeah. So now what we'll do, we'll expose the port number 80. We'll expose this VM, and see how to get it. I mean, how to target the, or how to expose the IPA. That's what I can tell. Yeah. So here one more exercise is there. We'll just go here. Yeah. So here what I'm doing is I'm running the following command to get my IP address of the VM. Okay. So if you see here, somewhere here, this is the IP address of my VM. Okay. So if I just go over here and type this IP, I'll get service not found or anything. So it will just taking ever and ever to load the things, right? So what I'll do, I'll just assign these things, and I'll list the things, and I'll just add it in one of the variables. Okay. So that's what I'm doing over here. Okay. So AZ VM list IP address of this resource group. The name will be this, and I'm just taking the IP address of this VM, and I'm parsing it as a TSV format. Okay, so it's done. So it's, see, this is still loading. Okay, so next what I'm doing is I'm just trying to download the home page over here. So whenever the curl command is sort of calling a URL. Okay, so I'm calling this IP address. So what I got it from here, and I'm trying to connect it. In 5 seconds it should time out. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do it. It will wait for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 probably. Let's see what it will do. Yeah, see, after 5 seconds I got this connection timed out after 5001 milliseconds. Yeah, and we saw here could not connect, we got it. Yeah, so now I'm just echoing the IP address just for this. So this is my IP, what I connected over here. We got this, could not connect. Yeah. Now what I'll do is I'll just access the current security group rules. So NSG is basically what creates the group rules for you guys. Okay, so whenever you create a VM, there is something called NSG resource. So if I just go here and show it in this resource group, so there is something called NSG. Okay, so network security group. So here basically you have your rules configured. Okay, outbound and inbound rules. So as I told you, inbound is something which comes from the outside world. Outbound is something which goes from the VM to the outside world. Okay, so I'm just getting these rules over here. So this is the NSG group, what is there in my VM. Okay, and now what I'm going to, I'm just listing what and all rules are configured over here. Yeah, so these are some of the rules is there. Default allow. So the only rule I can see over here is default allow SSH. Only through SSH you can allow it. Okay, priority is 1000. So generally lower the priority, better the things. Yeah. So nothing else is there. No port range and all. Nothing is there. So I'll just output the same thing in form of table. Yet only this rule, as I told you, right? Default allow SSH, priority 1000, port number 22. Only something access from the port number 22 through SSH will be allowed to access the system. I don't want that to happen. So now what I'll do is I'll create a network security rule now. Here what I'm doing, create an NSG rule. Okay, allow protocol TCP. Okay, priority is 100, and I'm allowing port 80 because anything communication I need to do it via port 80. That's the HTTP rule, right? So I'm creating a TCP protocol now. Yeah. Yeah. So I have created one of the protocols now So let's just see how it works. I'll just copy this into a table format and show you guys. So it's not any coding what I'm doing. Okay, so it's there. I'm just copy pasting. So here is just the, you see here also is there. Just query and just get it in a table format. What output you want it. So that's very simple to understand. Also, you just go through this. I think I didn't share this. I'll just share this as well, where this is basically on the VNet, what I explained it earlier, right? So output table, you see new rule is there, allow HTTP priority 100. So this takes a better priority than this. Okay, so this is on port number 80. So my system communicates generally on port number 80. I mean, everyone's system generally communicates over port number 80. Okay, so that's how. So now what I'm doing is again accessing the website. So here, if I see, I'll just try to refresh it. See, welcome to Azure. My name is myVM. Okay, so the port number 80 has been exposed and anyone can access this now. So this is how the virtual network works. Yeah. So um yep. So this is a small exercise which you can following the link. Yeah, so next you can just clean up. So here the advantages, you can just do all the resources without actually creating the resources and doing the things. Okay, so yeah, so today we'll be ending it over here, and tomorrow we will be seeing probably your the app services, what is Docker, why Docker is required, just a overview on this, and some app services. What are app services? We'll try to see how easily it is to publish the application to app services. We'll try to do that as well. And also, let's see if we get some chance, we'll see on the DevOps part, but that's the secondary. But tomorrow we'll just see on the app services, on at least some hands-on onto deployment of the app services. At least we can see that. Also we can we'll see on the storage level what are the different storage services in Azure and all. So let's see on the hands-on on that part also. And if time permits, we'll be completing the identity and management chapter tomorrow. Okay, so with this, with tomorrow's session, hopefully we should be able to complete the module 2 of our session. And next remains the identity governance, how the things are managed, the cost is managed, and so on. So that will be the next part. Again, that's the more theory part. So with today and tomorrow will be more hands on. You can look into services and all. Yes. So that's it from my side for today. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's a weekend, I know, but still, it's really great that you guys are coming and showing interest towards learning this. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, definitely. And sir, this is a nice gesture from your side that on a weekend you are giving your best time to the community. So, guys, you have already got the idea, and sir has given a phenomenal explanation about everything about the VMs and about the sandboxes you can use it. All these links will be in the comment section, so you can just open the YouTube link anytime and you can just get the access of these links. You can just check out the documentation, because Microsoft documentation is the best documentation to explore. You can just learn all these fundamentals from there only. So explore these documentation sandboxes and you will get the best out of it. So we'll see you tomorrow with another great hands-on session. And thank you, sir. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for giving your time, precious time to us. And everyone, you will
thank
be
you.
getting a link in your mail for joining tomorrow's session. So, guys, see you all there. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye
sir.
bye.